So, welcome to Rational Word Problems. Let's look at example 1. So, in example 1, it takes Kelsey, Whitney, and Gabriella 2 hours to paint a room when they work together. When Kelsey works alone, she can paint one room in 6 hours. And when Whitney works alone, she can paint one room in 4 hours. Determine how long it will take Gabriella to paint one room on her own. So I call these work problems because we're talking about how long it takes for them to work to get a job done. And when you have that, we're going to follow the formula above. Now there are other formulas that work, but this one will work all the time, and that's why I suggest it. The first thing you're going to notice about the formula is that there are multiple fractions. You actually have to adjust the formula based on how many people you're talking about. For example, here we have 3 people, Kelsey, Whitney, and Gabriella. So I'm going to have 3 fractions, one for each person, right? Now, you're going to think about this as together over individual. Because up top, we have the time it takes for them together. The time or rate, actually. And then on the bottom, you're going to have the time it takes individually. Time or rate. So you have the time or rate for person A. Then you're going to have the time or rate for person B. And you're going to have the time or rate for person C. You're going to be equal to the number of projects. So let's actually see how that's going to work in the example. We're talking about how long it takes for Gabriella to paint one room on her own. So in this case, your x value, we're going to let x equal the number of hours for Gabriella to paint one room on her own. And let's read through the problem again. It takes Kelsey, Whitney, and Gabriella 2 hours to paint one room when they work together. So because it's a time together, I'm going to put that in the numerator because we should have together over individual. So 2's go on top of all the fractions. Your numerator should always be the same. Now, when Kelsey works alone, that's an individual time that's going to go in the denominator. She can paint one room in 6 hours. When Whitney works alone, she can paint one room in 4 hours. Again, individual times go in the denominator. And determine how long it takes Gabriella to paint one room on her own. So we're going to put the x because we don't know Gabriella's individual time. We're setting this equal to how many rooms we're painting. And the problem keeps saying you are painting a room. When Kelsey works alone, she can paint one room. When Whitney works alone, she can paint one room. How long does it take Gabriella to paint one room? Multiple times in this problem, they are saying we are painting one room. And then all you have to do is solve the resulting equation. So in this case, you need to find your LCD. So what's the least, or rather the lowest number that 6 and 4 both go into? The smallest number that 6 and 4 both go into is 12. 6 goes into 12, 4 goes into 12, and an x. If you wanted to, you could have done 6 times 4 times x to get 24x. That's a common denominator. It is not the least common denominator, which is fine. You're just going to have to do a little extra simplifying if you choose to go with 24x. I'm now going to multiply each piece by what's missing. So when I rewrite this out, I'm going to leave some space to multiply. I'm going to write the 1 as 1 over 1 because I like fractions. Your first fraction has 6 in the denominator. So in order to get to 12x, you need to do 6 times 2x. The second fraction has 4. In order to get to 12, you need to do 4 times 3x. The next fraction has an x. In order to get to 12, you need to do x times 12. And the last fraction only has a 1. You're missing the entire LCD. Now you're going to multiply everything together and solve the resulting equation. So we're going to get 4x over 12x plus 6x over 12x plus 24 over 12x is equal to 12x over 12x. And just like before, when you have the same denominators, we can cross them out. And we're going to be left with the equation 4x plus 6x plus 24 equals 12. You're going to combine your like terms to get 4x plus 6x, which is 10x, plus 24. Oops, sorry, I forgot to include my x up top. So 10x plus 24x equals 12x. Oops, sorry. There we go. Finally have it right. 10x plus 24 equals 12x. And you're going to solve for x. So I'm going to bring the 10x over. And I'm going to get 24 is equal to 2x, which tells me that x is going to be equal to 12. So Gabriella takes 12 hours to paint one room because she's way slower than everyone else. Let's try another example. And remember, if I'm going too fast for you, you can pause the video or rewind. In the next example, we have Omar takes 6 days to dig a hole. Jerry takes 4. How long does it take them to do it together? So I have 2 people, so that means I'm going to have 2 fractions. And don't forget that the time is going to be together in the numerator over the individual times in the denominator. So Omar takes 6 days on his own individually. That goes in the denominator. Jerry takes 4 individually. How long does it take them to do it together? So we're going to let x equals the time together. And it's important to write the let statements. That way we can let our grader know what we were intending to do. That way we can get partial credit. So their time together we're trying to figure out. It is unknown, so we're writing x in the numerators. And then we're equal to how many holes we're actually digging. And in this case, we are digging 1 hole. Right? We only talked about 1 hole, didn't say 2 holes. You're going to find your LCD, which between 6 and 4 is kind of like the last problem. The least common denominator is 12. You could do this problem with 24, but you're going to have to simplify a little more. Rewrite the equation out with spaces. And write the integer 1 as a fraction, 1 over 1. If you have a 6 in the first denominator, you need to multiply by 2 to get to 12. If you have a 4 in the second denominator, 4 times what is 12? That would be 3. And the last one, you only have a 1, you're missing the entire LCD, so you need to multiply by 12 over 12. Multiply everything together to get 2x over 12 plus 3x over 12 is equal to 12 over 12. Now that we have the same denominators, you can cross them out, and you're going to be left with 2x plus 3x is equal to 12. And in order to solve that, you can combine your like terms. 2 plus 3 is going to be 5x. And we should be getting that x is equal to 12 over 5, which you can leave, or that is 2.4 days to dig a hole together. So keep in mind this problem didn't ask you to round, so if you're getting something that needs to be rounded, then you made a mistake. Also make sure your answer makes sense. If it takes them 6 and 4 days individually, it should take them less time together. So if you get a large number like 15, it doesn't make sense that it takes them 15 days if they can dig it on their own faster. So with word problems, just make sure your answers actually make sense in the end. Why don't you pause the video and try to set up the equation on your own. Don't forget a let statement. So in this problem, we have one pipe can fill an aquarium in 6 hours, and another pipe can fill it in 9 hours. If the two pipes are set to fill the aquarium together, how long will it take to fill the aquarium 3/4 full? So we are talking about two pipes. The first one can do it in 6 hours. That's an individual time, so it goes in the denominator. The second one can do it in 9 hours. Again, an individual time goes in the denominator. Your let statement should have been let x equal the time together, because we're talking about how long will it take them to fill it together. Because we don't know that rate, we're going to put it as x in the numerator, because together goes in the numerator. Now, the trick to this question was what you're equal to. We're not filling one aquarium to the top. We're filling one aquarium 3/4 of the way full. So you should set it equal to 3/4. You're only filling it 3/4 of the way. You're not doing one full job. Why don't you pause the video and try to solve the problem on your own, and then check back to see if you got the right answer. So in this problem, the LCD between 9, 6, and 4, if you're trying to find the smallest number that 9, 6, and 4 both go into, that's going to be 36. If I were you, the way I would do it is I would list out multiples on the side of the largest number. So the largest number is 9. So 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. Now see the smallest number that 6 and 4 both divide into. And from there, 6 goes into 18, or rather, cross out what it doesn't work. 6 does not go into 9, 6 does not go into 27 or 45. And then if you're talking about 4, 4 does not go into 18, 4 does not go into 54. Nope, 4 does not go into 54. So you're left with 36 as the smallest number. You really can do a common denominator of 6 times 9 times 4, but you're going to get very large numbers in this example if you do that. If you're trying to get to 36, then you have to think what times 6 is 36, which is 4. And the next one you have a 9. So 9 times 4, no. Oh, geez. Whoops, I made a mistake. I don't know why I wrote 4 first. If you have a 6 in the denominator, to get to 36, you have to multiply by 6. Sorry, 6 times 6 is 36. And the next one, you have a 9. 9 times what is 36? 9 times 4. In the last one, you have a 4. 4 times what is 36? That's going to be 9. You multiply everything together, and you're going to get 6x over 36 plus 4x over 36 is equal to 27 over 36. From there, you're going to drop the denominators. And you're going to solve. 6x plus 4x is equal to 27. 6 plus 4 is going to be 10x equals 27. So you should have gotten x is equal to 2.7. What are we talking about? Hours. To fill it 3/4 of the way full. Why don't you pause the video and try to set up number 4 because this one's going to take longer. Not so much if you realize the catch. So please be careful when reading these problems. First of all, we have 2 people. So you should have 2 fractions. We're talking about Jane can weed the garden twice as fast as her son Chris. And they give us the time together, which is going to be 3 hours. So I'm going to put the time together in the numerator. We're also only talking about weeding one garden, right? And I know it's one garden because they're not saying 2 gardens. They're just saying to weed the garden, which implies there's 1. They want to know how long it takes each of them to work alone. So in this case, we don't know either denominator. And they spend different times actually weeding, right? Because Jane does it twice as fast as her son. So they can't both be the same variable in the denominator. There's going to have to be some difference in the denominator. So if you have Jane, right? Let's say let x equal the number of hours for Jane. Now, if Jane is twice as fast as Chris, then that means that Chris takes 2 times longer, right? If Jane does it in 5 hours and she's twice as fast as Chris, then Chris takes 10 hours. If Jane does it in 2 hours, then Chris is going to take 4 hours. So it's double the amount of time that Jane takes. So Chris is going to be 2x. If you happen to make Chris x, then Jane would be 1/2 x because she takes half as long. It depends on how you actually view these problems. But I would avoid having fractions in the denominator. That's why I went with x and 2x instead of x and 1/2 x. From there, your LCD is going to be 2x because I see a 2 in the denominator and I see an x in the denominator. You should pause the video and try solving the rest of the problem on your own. Your first fraction has the x, but it's missing the 2. Your second fraction has the 2 and the x. It's not missing anything, so you actually don't have to multiply by anything, which is great for us. Let's work. Last fraction is missing everything, right? Because we're weeding one garden. In order to bring 1 in the denominator to 2x, you need to multiply by 2x over 2x. That means we're going to get 6 over 2x plus 3 over 2x is equal to 2x over 2x. We're going to cross out the denominators and solve this very simple equation left over. 6 plus 3 is equal to 2x, so 9 is equal to 2x, which means that x is equal to 4.5. You are not done. Yes, x is equal to 4.5, but they asked for how long will it take for each of them to do it. Right now we only have x, so that means we only have Jane's hours, which is 4.5. So if Jane takes 4.5 hours and Chris takes twice as long, that means double 4.5, right? 2 times 4.5 is going to mean that Chris takes 9 hours. So here's your answer. 4.5 hours for Jane, 9 hours for Chris. Okay, last one. This is actually a 4-point regions question that we're going to go over together. Now in this case, they have a formula for work problems involving 2 people as shown below. They actually gave you a different formula. So remember how I said at the beginning where there's alternate versions of this formula, but they don't always work? This is one of them. So I don't suggest you use this problem all the time, but because the regions gave you the setup, we're just going to substitute values in to the formula that they gave us. So we have Fred and Barney are carpenters who build the same model desk. It takes Fred 8 hours to build the desk, while it only takes Barney 6 hours. Write an equation that can be used to, this should say find, the time it would take both carpenters working together to build a desk. So if we follow the actual formula up top, this guy, they're saying T sub 1, I said sub 1 because it's a subscript, it's the opposite of an exponent. Instead of being written up top, it's written below, is the time taken by the first person to complete the job. So the time taken for the first person, let's see, we have Fred, takes 8 hours. This is the first person. So I'm going to put an 8 on the bottom. Then we're going to read the next one. The next person, it takes Barney 6 hours. Well, T sub 2 is the time for the second person. So I'm going to put a 6 on the bottom. And then they're trying to figure out how long it takes both carpenters working together to build the desk. So the time together is going to be T sub B. Again, you're just reading the values and substituting them into the formula that they give you. So I'm going to either leave this as T sub B. If you want, you could write it as X. It doesn't matter. From there, you're going to solve the equation. Your LCD is, in this case, the smallest number that goes into 8 and 6 is 24. I said that backwards. The smallest number that 8 and 6 both go into is 24. 8 goes into 24, 6 goes into 24. And then you also see the t sub b in the denominators. So your LCD is 24 times t sub b. Now, try to solve the resulting equation on your own. Unpause the video when you are done. If you have 8 and you're trying to get to 24, you need to multiply by 3. If you have 6 and you're trying to get to 24, you need to multiply by 4. And if you only have t sub b, and if you want to get to 24 t sub b, you need to multiply by 24 over 24. You multiply everything together to get 3 t sub b over 24 t sub b plus 4 times 1 is 4. And 24 times 1 is 24. Once you get the same denominators, you can cross them out, and you're going to work with just the numerators. So I'm going to have 3t sub b plus 4t sub b is equal to 24. And you're going to combine like terms. 3 plus 4 is going to give you 7t sub b equals 24. And when you divide by 7, you get a number that's not nice. But that's okay because this problem told you to round to the nearest tenth. And that means you shouldn't be getting a nice answer. So it's about, when you round, 24 divided by 7 is about 3.4 hours. And you're done. There are a few practice problems left. You guys can do that on your own and check the answers with the class notes and the answer key in the class notes section. But that's all for this video. Just make sure that anytime you see a work problem, that we go back to using the formula up top, where the number of fractions is the same as the number of people you're talking about. The time spent together goes in the numerator. The time spent individually goes in the denominators. And really important, you're always equal to the number of jobs you're trying to do. Because sometimes the problem might say, how long does it take to paint 2 rooms? And you're going to have to set it equal to 2. So these problems require you to read carefully. But that's all for this video.